Hello, everyone. This is Renee.piane and my co-host, Claytonnorcross, who just had a birthday. So happy
Oh,
birthday.
oh.
You might need to turn up your volume. I want to hear you. I couldn't hear you very well. So Clayton, happy birthday. And you know, when birthdays come, it's a good time to do new intentions, like it's your new year.
Right.
And today we're going to be talking about something really important for anyone that has gone through the process like yourself of healing from a breakup and getting back into the game, right? And one of the number one things is, and I ask all my clients who are, going through this process, so I'm going to ask you, what percentage, how much do you believe in love now? Like now that you're on the other side and you're, moving forward, and you can, what percent, don't you think it's important for people to have that belief that love exists?
I do. I think I'd say I'm at about 80% right now, which is a huge improvement. I went through a period of considerable despair when I first went through my breakup. I thought, wow, I've invested all this time and all this energy, and to have this sort of metaphorically blow up in my face and not come to fruition to the extent that I felt that I had given was hard on me.
Yeah.
But I think your affirmations in the book, I'm looking at page 90 here, where you talk about how much do you believe in love and steer us through a course of self-affirmation. I think that really helped me realize that I merit love.
Yeah.
And therefore it's available to me. It's a mindset shift.
Well, it's also an energy. Like a lot of people right now go out and then they don't meet anybody and they get depressed. So did you attract positive vibes, negative vibes when you were out? Now, right now we're all wearing masks, unfortunately. But I've been practicing what I preach because I'm a people person. I've been a little stir crazy at home. So even wearing masks, I talk to people about looking at people in the eye and asking, hey, how are you doing? Interestingly enough, this week alone, I talked to 3 people that were in the middle of a situation, a breakup, a shakeup, or the person didn't come through. And there was a lot of people sad. And I would say, well, how much of you believes in love, right? And they would say, oh, no, I still believe in love. 80%. One woman said, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again. So everybody out there, you have to be able to control your mind. Just because one person out of the millions and millions of people on the planet wasn't ready when you were ready doesn't mean that you weren't good enough, right? So it's a whole process that you've been through to take a look at that little boy and old wounds and healing these things so that your belief in yourself rises, correct?
Yep. I mean, you come in with we all have our version of our baggage, the things we were taught. Your book talks a lot about, taking a look, not sitting in self-pity, but taking a look at where did you learn about love and what are your expectations and so on. And so I thought that was very useful as a primer to investigate. Who am I? What does love mean to me? Do I feel like I deserve love? All of those questions I think I've revisited now at a much more mature age. And this birthday passing, it's kind of like a milestone going by on the highway. You're kind of like, oh, whoa, I meant to think about that.
Well, everybody ask yourself, what percentage believes you're going to find it? And then I want to ask, what believes that person will adore you and be faithful? I think faithful and open to love are a big thing. People will say, I can't find anybody available, right? Or anybody that's really ready. So that's why it's what percentage believes in yourself and the knowledge of what you really want in a relationship without jumping into a situation too quickly when there's warning signs, right? So it's what percent runs your little boy or little girl, right? So when I work with people like yourself, they have one part that believes and the other part that doesn't, right? So if you're in conflict with that part that got hurt before and the part that's ready to go, you may cause it, you're not going in one direction. So that's why the percentage is important.
Yeah, I think it is. And, you've made it very clear that you're going to attract what you believe in too.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from a divided place like that while you're out there dating, which for a while I could detect that I really wasn't ready to give my heart to anyone new. It was really high time for me. For example, when I was traveling in Hawaii for a while during the COVID, the initial parts of the quarantine, I just really needed to be with myself. I really needed to rebuild my relationship to myself, regardless of what my prospective partner thinks about me or is able to offer back. And so that's deep inner work that I can control. I can't control what she feels. And I'm sure women have often thought about, how can I control what he feels? Those are very frustrating endeavors. And so I like us getting back to a place of asking these questions about ourselves. And if the answer is a low percentage, where's that coming from? How do I adjust my beliefs to a more positive place so that I'm attracting a more positive experience?
Well, like right now, it begins with a mental state. Like a lot of people, when they're depressed or they're in a situation, they stay home and they're kind of hibernating. It's almost like getting yourself out of the place where you mourning, like in bed. People, but I say, you got to get up and go out of bed. And you did this, went to the beach, went to nature, and started to really look at, the really good things about yourself. And then I have a lot of my clients write down the thoughts that they're continually thinking and then change the way they're saying these things to themselves. Like, that's why you like those affirmations so much. Like whatever you're saying to yourself, you're saying to other people too. And like I talk about in the chapter, your unique sound effect, the only thing people remember about you, unique sound effect is like in the 167. That's every waking moment we talk to ourselves about the things we experience, our self-talk, the things we communicate, in turn control the way we feel and act. So as you're going through a breakup, you're like, I'm learning these lessons. I'm caring for myself. Good things are going to come out of this. I'm learning lessons so that I can find the deepness that I've been looking for. So people say it seemed right in the beginning, but something told me there was warning signs. And now you're more conscious of those warning signs, and you had them, and other people that I work with have had them. But really, what is that one side of them that heard it, but they didn't do any action? So that's why believing in yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going to learn from this last situation so that I don't do it again. Be gentle with myself, because a part of me needed to grow. So that's what you've been doing. You've been really building a relationship with that other part of yourself that used to doubt you, and now it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and everybody needs to do that at one point or another.
Yeah, I really like your technique there of just, usually if I'm suffering at any given point, it's because I've had a conversation that dredged up some old, memories or something like that. And this happened to me the other night at one of my birthday dinners. A friend of mine who cares about me asked about how that was all going, and he offered some advice and so on, fairly unsolicited, but it just kind of stirs the pot, and then the monkey mind can come in and throw in a little self-doubt in there, a little negativity or something like that. If you don't have a technique like you're suggesting to say, oh, and write it down for a while, I've carried a 3x5 card in my pocket, and I'll just write down, oh, I'm not feeling good about my attractiveness. I'm not handsome enough today, to attract.
Oh God, who would ever say that about you? I'm sorry.
They might. I'm not like everybody.
Well, I understand. I mean, you'd see the most beautiful people in the world having self-doubt about themselves, but it's all from, but that's why the conversations, you got to be careful, the things you're saying about your belief in love. And when you run into old friends and they're like, oh, I thought you had a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and you go, oh, it didn't work out. And then they go, well, tell me about it. You say, you know what? I'm on a healing path right now. Don't really want to bring it up. I've learned the lesson, and bringing it up, this isn't a good time to bring it up because I'm doing well. So all I need you to know is I learned some great lessons and I appreciate your support. Shut them down. I only have a couple people, and I even wrote an article, maybe we'll put it in about bad advice to give your friends when you're going through a breakup. You really only need a couple really good, confidant people to talk to, and the rest, you have to just say things that make them see that you're working on yourself or you're healing in a positive way, so that when they see somebody and they say, how's Clayton doing? Oh my God, he's a train wreck. You should hear him. He's whining or whatever. Or people say that to me, you know, like if I'm working with somebody, there was somebody that sent somebody to me and they were like, is she okay? Because man, she was a train wreck. And I go, no, she just needed somebody to listen. And she told too many people. Then they kept bringing it up and bringing it up, and it kept stirring her up. I would get her to a great level. Then she talked to somebody that she had told 4 months ago, and then they came back and asked her, and it made her all upset again. And I said, that's why you can't, don't tell too many people, you know, about what happened. Just keep it inside, write it all out, and then take what you wrote and change it. Like, you know, I mean, you read my heartbreaking story. I let Mario, Mr. Angelone, his power over me, I gave him way too much power. He was already remarried, you know, and I wouldn't let it go. And I talked about it, and it ruined relationships. My friends were sick of it. And finally they told me, you know, this was before I wrote all of this. But I went through it. And the only reason I teach it to you and thousands of people is because I've been through it, and I ruined years of my youth, whining over a guy that didn't pick me. And I was so glad later when I met my husband that I had not been picked by him. And
Right. Yeah.
and my picker was a lot better. But back then it took me down to almost a 20% believing in love, right?
Wow.
So when you go down, now we're getting you up. You have to believe, you have to be able to speak it, pray it, and then vision it, and things start changing. And it started changing for you. You have movies coming up, you have excitement coming up in the next few months where you're going to be back in the, you know, I've worked with a couple other celebrities, and they were off, and they were sad because they weren't in the mix of all the, you know, the fun when you're on the set.
Productive, you know, it's our career is like that because it's a sort of a series of peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to stay busy, stay productive, stay feeling good about what you're contributing, not only to yourself, but to other people in your circle. And, you know, the work that you and I have done, and we're sharing a little bit with here in the Love Tips, you know, it is part of that as well. I feel good about the offerings that we've turned these lemons into lemonade, things that were quite uncomfortable. And people have stopped me and said, hey, I really got a lot out of that last one you did. And the one on sex, that was really fun, you know. And
everybody loves to talk about that, right?
yeah, everybody wants to feel good. So why is that a surprise? But I got paid a very high compliment at my birthday dinner the other night because a gal that I hadn't seen for a while showed up, and she said, well, you know, I know that happened to you, but I've never heard you blame or shame or find fault with your ex-girlfriend. And I just wanted to say how much I admire that. It just makes you so much more accessible, and I see the sweetness you have for the situation, but you don't turn that into a negative, you know. And I think there's a modicum of faith in there, and belief in the self that avoids giving away so much of the power that you were talking about a moment ago with your ex-boyfriend of, I think he soaked up.
I was with him for 3 years, but there was, you know, people they get married for 10, 15 years. People are married for a long time, and then suddenly the person's cheating, and it makes them feel terrible. Or you know, you're dating somebody 5 years and they don't marry you, and then 2 months later they're engaged to someone else. I mean, these kind of things make people's hearts rip out. And then they call me, and a lot of it is patterns in their life or imprints from their families. And then it takes them down from a young age and just continues into their groups, into their age groups, you know, in their 30s, 40s, 50s. If you don't heal this stuff like you've done, you can't get to the other side to believe in yourself. So believing in you is the whole thing. It's a law of attraction. If you believe you deserve something and you vision it and you talk about it, it starts to, like, people are magnetically attracted to you that are on the same vibe, you know? Yeah. And you know, I had just broken up with somebody when I met my husband, but I kept saying to him, I believe in myself. You lied to me. And I'm opening myself up to somebody that's available, that didn't have all this shit in their camp. And that's what I asked for. And then a week later, I met my husband. Now, it was because my conviction in what I was looking for and had asked for, and that person backed out after 7 months. And that's not a long time, but it was like he was a liar. So I said, I'm not going to be involved with a liar. Goodbye. And I was so strong, but it wasn't because I just am always that way. It's because I did this work to get real about why I used to let some of those warning signs just pass me by, you know?
You had a very clear vision, I would imagine, of
Yes.
what the right guy looks like. And when you get a major red flag like dishonesty, it's like, oh, deal breaker. You know, let me just not deceive myself. And I feel responsible for that in a way. I have to look at my own behavior and say, yeah, there were several major red flags that I painted white. And I just felt like I had an overly optimistic idea of what was possible in those circumstances. And I've owned that, and I've shared that. And so I've taken, I think, a healthy responsibility for my part, and that puts me back in my power.
But now that people are like thinking about how much do you believe in love, right? Because if it's 50-50, you're going to get 50-50 response, right? So it begins with your mental state before you leave the house, how open you are. If you're still shut down, do healing. Take the time to work on yourself. Whenever you're continuously saying in your mind, like it says, it becomes your reality. And you want to make sure that the thoughts that you're thinking like project what you want to see, not the down stuff. And if it is a downer day, we all have them. I write it all out, like I'm not feeling this. I just recently got vertigo and it makes me really upset. But what really happens is I get to have a download of ideas for the shows, or it gives me time to reflect on